Oh, that wasn't planned to be quiet. This is my career. Yeah, nerd. All right, but since everybody's quiet, I'll start because quietness is very rare. So I'll start with a little introduction for those of you who don't know me. I am Mr. Leizear. I teach television video production. And right over there, most people just call me Mr. L. I set up the flight schedule, you know, every week. So I'm going to do, well, two things. So let's just talk, I'll start with the obvious. The reason I'm live today is because you'll learn that my life is filled with great irony, and that the TV teacher screwed up the recording of his talk last time because there was no audio. So I'm going to do three things I don't really like doing. One is be recorded. Two, talk in front of large groups of people. And three, talk about myself. But over the summer, I was on the APS committee with Mr. Sheehan and a couple other teachers, and one of the things we discussed a lot during the summer sessions was stress and success, and how much you guys equate those two things together. And then we started talking about our own definitions of success and how they were vastly different from one another. And we started talking about our stories about why we thought that way. And so today's talk, if you haven't figured out already, is going to be about what is success. So a simple Google search of success and phrases brings you this. Okay? Lots of different quotes. I just randomly selected a passage, and the three of them stuck out to me, and they're kind of, the first two are on the top right. So put your heart, mind, and soul into even the smallest acts. That is the secret of success. Or success doesn't just come and find you. You have to go out and get it. Or that, the one in the middle, bottom middle, like right there. Ooh, look, it works. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. So, who determines our success? Is it our parents? And certainly they have an idea of what your success looks like. Is it your friends? And is it the media? Is it society? And we'll come back to this as we go later. I'll preface this by saying a few of you have heard this story. I've told a few people in the room my story, but there's parts of it probably you don't know, so I'm just going to give you the full detailed story here. So let's start with me as a wee lad. Because you have to have pictures in these APS talks. Apparently you have to have pictures of yourself as children. So I had a pretty good childhood. I had a loving family. I had great friends. Typical family, a brother, sister. I was the youngest. I was a baby. Mom and dad went on vacation. I think this is New Jersey somewhere. My sister and I had a really close relationship. This is my favorite picture of the two of us. It's also probably the last picture of myself I like. So I throw it in like that one. Even then, I like to make people laugh. So even back then, I like to make people laugh. And at times, I was a little devil. But school was a little different. Okay, school for me was a little different. I love school. I mean, that's why I'm here. I loved school when I was younger. I just wasn't really good at it. Okay, I loved going to school. I loved it. I had great teachers when I was in kindergarten and like pre-kindergarten, and they were wonderful. And then I got to third grade, and I don't know what happened, but I just stopped caring. There's my report card. My mom saves everything. Okay, so I have all of my report cards basically from all of my life. Not that I'm proud of them, but this was pretty typical for me. This was okay for me. Like, I wasn't a great student. B's and C's. That was about as good as I could get. That was success for me. My teachers wrote, Dennis is not showing pride in his work. Dennis is not showing pride in his work when he turns it in. There's a difference between that. Dennis shows little motivation to do the best he can do. He does not have pride in his work when he turns it in. And those of you who have had me in class, his handwriting needs improvement. It's clear. Things did not get better in 5th grade. My favorite is the bottom check mark here. The student sometimes does the work that is required or assigned, and rarely completes it on time, okay? Or gives it the attention it deserves. 7th grade, again, not much better. But when I was 16, we moved. So we moved. Yeah, I put a graphic on so that you're not paying attention to me. So we moved from right outside Washington, D.C. to just south of Philadelphia, so in Media, Pennsylvania. And I was 16. I thought it was going to be great. I thought it was going to be a fresh start. Like I was going to be like a completely different student. I was going to have lots of friends. It was awesome. The problem was is that I was still, oh, it ended. I was still the unmotivated introvert that I have always been. Okay? And if you're familiar with introverts, we don't like talking in front of people, and we don't like change. Okay? I particularly did not like the change. And so school did not get much better. So there's my high school. I went to Pencrest. I think that's what it looks like now. I don't remember looking like that, but maybe I just didn't go a whole lot. So I don't remember. But when I started working, when I was 16, I could work, and I loved working. Okay, like I loved going to work. Okay, I know I get the irony in this. Okay, I wasn't going to work in school, but I loved going to work. I first started off at Roy Rogers outside of the Grand River Mall. If you're familiar with it, it's the McDonald's now. Okay, that's what it was back then. I think in times it's been Boston Market and other things, but now it's McDonald's. And then I found Chick-fil-A. If you know me, you know I'm a Chick-fil-A guy. That's the store. That's it right there. That's the store I worked in the Grand River Mall, which no longer exists because they've torn down the wall. On the back side of that pillar right there, there's my name. Well, it was my name because I got a scholarship from Chick-fil-A. Because I love working. Okay? At Christmas time, I worked so much. I worked 3 jobs. I worked at Chick-fil-A right in the middle. To the left, I worked at Things Remembered, and to the right, I worked at Fresh and Sugar because I didn't want to have to move very far. Jobs. I did. I worked a lot. And so when it was time to go to college, I didn't want to go. I loved working so much. I didn't want to go to college. But my parents' definition of success said I should go to college. So I enrolled in Westchester. And things didn't really change. Okay? This is my freshman year college report card, transcript, whatever you want to call it now. I failed student and university life. That's the intro to college class. I don't recall how. I just know that's what it was. And so by spring, things didn't get much better. Not particularly great. And by the spring of By the spring of 90, I was done. I was done school. I was enjoying working too much. I was making a little bit of money. And I basically blew up my finals. Like, here's how stupid I am. I went to class until the last day of class and just didn't go to finals. Because I knew it would guarantee me if I failed out, my parents would let me work. Because that's what I wanted to do. And so I did. I went to work. Oh, by the way, there's my GPA when I got kicked out of Westchester. Okay. Put that in quotes because I really kind of dropped out. So I went to Chick-fil-A and I worked full time. And it was fine. It was good. And I was training people, and I was going off. They would send me to Philadelphia to train people, and I opened up the store in Concord Mall and trained all the managers and stuff there, and that was fun. But then I realized that I didn't necessarily want to do retail for the rest of my life, and I didn't really like where my life was heading. So I needed to probably go back to school. The problem was, is who's going to take you with a 1.7 GPA, and how was I going to pay for it? Because once I started working at Chick-fil-A, my parents started charging me rent. I had to pick up my car payments, my insurance payments. I basically paid for everything that I wanted, except for dinners on those rare nights when I was home. Mom would still, pay for dinner, allow me to eat. So I had very little money, and I had a very, very poor GPA. So I enrolled in the only college, I took all the money I had saved up, and enrolled in the only college that would accept me, Delaware County Community College. DC Cube, if you're familiar. Okay? And it was there that I learned the 2 greatest lessons of my life. 1, ask for help. And 2, find a mentor. Okay? The day I learned to start asking for help changed my life. Okay? When I was little, and even still some today, for me, asking for help, to me, was a sign of failure. It meant that I wasn't good enough, and I couldn't ask for help, and I had a very, very, very hard time asking for help. But there was a teacher at Delaware County Community College who encouraged me, and I wish I could remember his name. There's a whole backstory to that too, but I'm not going to tell it today. Maybe that'll be another TED Talk. But he talked to me about asking for help, and he encouraged me to ask for help. And that I started asking for help from him, and then I started asking for help from my other teachers, and it soon became easier and easier. And it really made life a lot simpler, because going through life by yourself without help is difficult. Okay? The second thing I learned, oh, by the way, once I learned how to ask for help, there's the GPA. Okay? That was the term. Okay? Yeah, I like to show off sometimes too. Okay? What's wrong with that graphic? That's an S. That's really an S. I don't know what's wrong with that now, but weird. Okay, anyway, so mentors. So when I was little, I wanted to be Len Swan. Len Swan was a football player. He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a wide receiver. He was awesome. He would make the impossible seem easy. He made catches that were incredible, and I wanted to be like him so much. Okay, so much so that like I would watch, his games live, because we didn't have VCRs then, back in the olden days. And I would try to do things like watch how he caught the ball, and watch how he ran after the catch. Like on our little neighborhood football fields, that's what I would try to do. Didn't know it at the time, Len Swan became a mentor of mine. Okay? And then as I got older, look, it must be the S's, other people. Okay? Scott Sternberg was one of my first bosses at the fresh and yogurt store that I worked at. He taught me about leadership. He taught me how to be a good manager. He taught me about leading groups of people and being in charge of smaller groups of things. Wow, look at those graphics. That's Delaware County Community College. That's in reference to the teacher I talked about earlier who kind of invited me to get help at Temple. This is really fun. Random letters. Just oddly shaped letters. At Temple, I continued to ask for help, and I found some people up there, people who were in the industry when I was getting my journalism degree, who were really helpful. And then here, of course, got Dr. Legg. Dr. Legg at Westchester, when I went back to be a teacher, Dr. Legg was awesome, and he helped me be an okay teacher. Okay. And of course, Ms. Markham here at Padua, Mrs. Holliday, Mr. Potter, whom none of you probably remember, but the grumpy old guy, you see his picture in the library. He was great and a good mentor. And then it's not only the adults in the building who have really kind of taught me lessons and who I've been inspired by, but students as well. Madeline Van Horn was, well, I'll just try to describe Madeline Van Horn. It's the best way I can. You remember, okay? When Madeline Van Horn was starting at Padua as a freshman, she was a freshman, like freshman. Okay? Freshman, okay? And so, I didn't have Maddie's freshman year, but I knew about her, okay? And so, when junior year came along and I got my roster over the summer and I saw her name on it, it's like I started like really being worried because I didn't know how I was going to handle someone with so much energy. Okay? And so I started to panic, and I started to think, oh geez, how am I going to handle her? But then she came to my class, and she was like really good at it. She picked up things really fast, and the following year she came back, and she was a leader, and she was amazing. And she taught me the lesson, and I wrote about this in her college essay, about not judging people before I actually get to meet them. I know that's cliche, I get it. But Madeline taught me that lesson. And so sometimes people in your lives will do that. And then in the last talk, when I did this the first time, when I was supposed to be recording it the first time, I talked about the other person, who was Katie Gallo. I watched Katie last year. She was preparing for her student council election speech. And in TV that morning, Katie was a little nervous. And when I say a little nervous, I mean she was really, really, really nervous. Like near tears nervous. Remember? Yeah. Okay. And so watching her then take that and go up on stage in front of the entire student body and she was so composed, and she was so confident. And I remember sitting in the back watching. I could close my eyes and picture the exact moment. And I was watching her overcome her fears, and it inspired me. That's part of the reasons I'm up here today. So, am I a success? I don't know. Well, the answer probably depends on who you ask. My mother would probably think so. Okay? My mother would probably think so. Okay? I'm 48 years old. I'm married to a woman who puts up with me willingly. Okay? I have a great job. Mom would say, yeah, a success. Will my friends? Maybe, I don't know. I'm too old to really care what my friends think anymore. I don't care. Would the media? Would the society think I'm a success? I don't know. So that brings us to the second part of my little talk today about perspective. Okay? Perspective is wonderful. Okay? You can choose to see the world. I'll just read this verbatim. The way we choose to see the world creates the world we see. Okay? Most of you know who had me. Now I'm pretty laid back and pretty easygoing. A lot of people don't know is I had a huge temper problem when I was younger. Sometimes still today. But for the most part, when I was younger, I had a really, really bad temper. At work, I would hit the wall occasionally. Most of the time, I would hit the safe because I would get my anger out. In 6th grade, I walked out of my school because the substitute teacher made me mad. Walked out, went home. I walked out after school, so I went home, I just walked home, and by chance, my sister was home for lunch that day, and she made me go back to school and made me apologize to the teacher. I'm not bitter about it still, honestly, but I am. And I used to have really, really, really bad road rage. Like really, really bad. So, just to give you an example, I would pretty much yell every day going to or from work. Either to or from work. Now, at the time, I lived in St. Eves. It's a mile away. It's a mile. And then one day I was driving home. It was September, and it was hot, and it was really, 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 really like muggy out. And I got stopped at the light. I think it was 4th Street. And I got mad because I had to stop at a stoplight. One of the 3 on my way home. I went that way because there were 3 lights and not more stop signs. But I remember looking to my left, and there's this guy in a truck, and he's selling vegetables. It's odd, but I had that moment where I was like looking at him going, first off, I'm still steaming because there's a red light in front of me. But I look to my left, and there's this guy selling vegetables, and I'm thinking, how bad does he have it that he has to sit outside by this red light and hope that people will stop and go, yeah, I need vegetables. Yes, right now. Yes, vegetables right now. Sir, can I have vegetables? And it changed my perspective on things. Okay, and I know it's dumb. I get it. I understand as I'm telling the story. As I'm telling the story out loud, I hear the cliche within it. Okay, but it really was that moment. And whatever I think about that moment, that epiphany for me, it really has changed my perspective. Those big things that seem so big aren't as big anymore. Like I used to get upset over the stupidest things. Stupid stuff. Like dumb stuff. And sometimes I still do. But a lot of times, if I just stop and think about that guy and what he had to go through on a daily basis just to get food on his table, I don't have things so bad. Okay? So my perspective changed in that moment. And I hope that all of you have a moment like that in your lives. Okay? That moment of epiphany where you realize those things. Realize those things aren't as bad as they used to be. So, what does it have to do with success? Because sometimes, have to look at life from a different perspective. Okay? Because people's perception of success are different, everybody can have a different definition of success. Okay? So what does success look like for you? Okay, we talk a lot about St. Francis and to be who you are and to be that well. Okay? The important part of that sentence is the who. Okay? I always wanted to be a teacher. Even when I was little and hated school, again, irony in my life, I wanted to be a teacher. In 6th, 7th grade, I was that nerd who would sit in the classroom and grade tests because the teacher would allow me to. And I loved it. I just knew I wasn't ready to get into a classroom when I was 25. But it's not the what part, it's the who part. Who do you want to be? At the beginning of the school year, Mrs. Mann talks to all the freshmen, right? We've all heard her talk. She talks about the pink shoe story. She tells you the pink shoe story for the first time, right? You know, the one with trying to get the person's name. What's her name?
Jane.
Jane, thank you. Jane, her terrible, horrible, no good, very bad boyfriend, right? And I've heard the story many times, although I couldn't remember Jane's name until just now. Like every year I hear it, because I record it, because that's what I'm asked to do. And sometimes the audio works. And this year she said something that struck me though, because I knew I was giving a talk, and I was like kind of like listening, paying attention to it a little bit extra. And she said, "You got to know you." Okay, so in her talk, one of the things she said was, "You've got to know you." Okay, you have to know who you are. Okay, you have to stop seeing yourself through other people's eyes and determine who you want to be and measure your own happiness and your own success by your own standards. Okay, so let's talk about it. Take a minute to think about this. Okay, when you're done, I want you to take out your phones for just a second, 2 minutes. Okay, and I want you to write down, or take out a piece of paper if you have one, or whatever. Okay, and I want you to write down the traits and the characteristics that are you. Okay, take out your phones. If you have them, take out a piece of paper. If you have them, you have 2 minutes. This isn't an invitation to talk. This isn't like, group session. This is like time for you to stop and think for a second about you. Okay, who are you? What are the traits and characteristics that are you? What, voice commanding it? All right, you have 30 seconds. Are we good? Excellent. Good. So let's come back to that question I asked earlier. Am I a success? Again, 48 years old, married to a woman who willingly puts up with me. She's my best friend. I have a great job that I love, and I love coming in every day and learning from you people. I have great friends who I know I can depend on no matter what. Okay. They're small. I don't have a large group of friends. I'm an introvert. But the group of friends I have, I know who have my back no matter what. So yeah, I think I'm a success. But it's taken me a long time to get here. Okay? So that brings me to the last part of my talk, which is about a couple things that I've learned along the way. Success takes patience. Okay? It doesn't come overnight, and it requires work. Okay? St. Francis of Sales is quoted saying, "Have patience with all things, but first with yourself." Okay? You have to know you. You got to know you. Okay? You have to learn to recognize your own strengths and your weaknesses and be willing to work to fix the weaknesses. My second point, curiosity. Okay? You must be a lifelong learner. And I don't mean like me, where you go to college for like 75 years. I mean, you must learn and be willing to improve yourself over and over again. Okay? You must be willing to continue to improve your life, your relationships. You must be able to continue to improve the understanding of the world. Just improve. Okay? Those of you who know me, I'm a nerd. I admit it. I'm a news nerd, particularly. I love teaching journalism on Thursday nights, every other Thursday night. On Twitter, there's a group of journalism teachers from across the country who get online and we chat about journalism classes. Because there's nobody else in this classroom, there's nobody else in the school that teaches journalism. So I have to go and find other people who do the same thing I do. That's me trying to get better. It's me trying to improve myself and improve my classes. So that's just a simple explanation for that. And then lastly, this is relatively new for me, is ask for what you want. Okay? And this has just come recently. If somebody has something that they can give you, and that they're willing to give you, ask. The worst they can say is no. Okay, my two examples are, 2 weeks ago we had a Convergence Media Day for 5th through 8th grade little kids here. And it was to teach them like news writing and photography and videography and all the fun things that we do in our classes, to give them an example of what we're doing here. So we wanted to give something away. We got t-shirts from them, but we also wanted to give other things away. So in my boredom one night, I went to one of my many colleges' websites and found a person who I thought might be the right person to ask. And it turns out she was. And I asked her, hey, we're doing this journalism conference. Is there anything you guys can give us? Because I know that they've given out things in other journalism conferences. And they sent us 100 of these reporters' notebooks and pens. Ooh, pens. But I would have never gotten that unless I asked. And then my other example is Patriarchy. We had Patriarchy come on our TV show. Like, Patriarchy from Channel 3 went live on PATV this year. Like, Patriarchy, most of you probably don't remember her. But she was like one of the news anchors in the Philadelphia region for years. And she came in and did our little stupid TV show. No offense, okay? Yeah, okay. Because we asked. Like, she was at the dinner on Women's Achievement last year, and at the dinner I introduced her to Katie Gallo again, and somewhere in the conversation we brought up the idea of her coming in and doing the show, and she's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. And so over the summer I emailed her and said, hey, were you really serious about coming in? And she was. And we were able to do that. So if there are things that people can give you, ask, okay? The only thing you're going to get is a no. You may get a yes too. But the only thing you're going to get is a no. All right, so lastly, I just want to thank you guys for listening. Okay? But I have one more request. That this you started making today, I want you to take it out tonight and look at it again and add to it. And then take it out in a week or two and look at it again and add to it. And then in a month or two, do the same thing. Okay? And then pretty soon, you'll start getting an idea of not just what you want to be, but who you are and what kind of success you guys really actually are. Thank you.